Shifting focus now to the Bangladesh-India ties that continue to remain on the edge. There's lack of trust between the two neighbours. In fact, anger and resentment against India seems to be on the rise in Bangladesh. First, India was blamed for causing floods by releasing water from the dam in Tripura, a claim that was rejected by the Indian government. And after floods, it is now related to grant of visas by Indian government. On your screens are some of those visuals which were very scary when they actually played out, because it happened at a visa center in Dhaka where thousands of Bangladeshis had descended because they were protesting against delays in processing requests. The situation, in fact, prompted the Indian High Commission to take up the matter officially with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Dhaka. Look at the security situation it resulted in. And that's our big debate today, which is that why is it that India and Bangladesh continue to have issues related to trust, and what is the best possible way to bridging that trust deficit? Let me get in quickly. Shamsher Chowdhury joining me live from Dhaka, former Foreign Secretary of Bangladesh, also joining Ambassador Sajjanhar. Always a pleasure to have him on the show. Mr. Chowdhury, let me start with you, sir. There seems to be these minor issues which are actually causing major friction between India and Bangladesh. How does one go about figuring that out first, sir?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think the visa issue, I must say that the general experience is that the visa system works well. There are a number of visa centers in Bangladesh, but the demand is very, very high. The demand is very, very high because of people, needing to go to India for education purposes, for medical purposes, for other reasons. And in most cases, I would say that the applicant turns out to be quite impatient. I mean, the processing of visas takes time in every country. And India has the largest visa office anywhere in the world, the one that they have in Dhaka itself. And they have others. They have in Sylhet, they have in Khulna, they have in Rajshahi. Now they're opening one also in Rangpur. So I guess it's more of outpour of anger. I don't support this.
But sir, how does a protest about delays in visa processing suddenly and very quickly turn into anti-India protests? It's a protest. You are upset with the fact that your visa is taking long. How does that quickly spiral into an anti-India protest?
Well, I don't know. I haven't heard the slogan because I was doing something else all day today. And I haven't had a chance to look at the news all through. I mean, this is something I think that happened yesterday. I don't know if it happened today. Anger spills over. Anger is not always rational. I've always maintained that anger is one alphabet away from danger. And I hope people understand that the visa issue is nothing to do with India as such. It's just that some people, irrational people, it happens in one or two other countries. Singapore mission faced similar problems. Malaysian High Commission here faced similar problems. There are thousands of Bangladeshis going to Malaysia. There are 5 flights a day from between Dhaka and Kuala Lumpur.
Yes.
And 4 flights between Dhaka and Singapore. Sometimes I was talking to the Malaysian High Commissioner day before yesterday about lunch, and she was also saying that people get restless, people start requesting for expediting the things, but it's difficult to explain to an irrational crowd that things take time. I mean, visas are not processed. Bangladesh also, visa system is not the easiest in the world.
Yes.
We hear a lot of complaints from people applying for visas to come to Bangladesh. It's unfortunate. It shouldn't be. I certainly don't condone it. The visa issue is a very technical thing.
Right.
And I know the people in the Indian High Commission here they work like 20 hours a day.
Yes.
Sometimes my daughter-in-law herself had to collect her passport at 9 o'clock in the evening. And I told her to, understand the pressure that the Indian go through.
Ambassador Sajjanhar, then let me ask you this. Is it as normal as what, Shamsher Chowdhury is saying on the show, which is that, it's a similar situation with some of the other countries as well. He mentioned Malaysia. Or should we look at the larger picture here, connect the dots? Likewise, the flood situation was also a very normal thing. It rains in this part of the world, in this part of the year, and that's how the situation became the way it did. But it quickly led to a lot of blame game. And similar is what we're seeing right now, how, delays in visa processing quickly turned into anti-India protests. How do we see the larger picture here? Ambassador Sajjanhar.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gaurie, for having me on your show. Always a pleasure to be with you. I think there are elements, particularly as a result of the change that has taken place in Dhaka, particularly the change that has taken place in Bangladesh. There are elements which are inimical to India, which are hostile to India. They, I think, would be looking for any particular opportunity where they can get out and protest against India or take out any sort of demonstration against India. So, whether any particular issue is it's valid, it's relevant, it's not, there are elements there and we are aware of it. I remember when I used to be in Dhaka, and that used to be in the early 90s, there, the pressure on visas to come to India has always been there. It's not a new phenomenon that, it has suddenly jumped up. Maybe it has suddenly jumped up right now because of the instability in that country, increasing insecurity in that country. People want to move out maybe to, safer havens or whatever it is. So maybe the numbers have gone up as compared to what it was there earlier. But it has always, I have never really heard, even during my time in Dhaka or even otherwise, over the last 10, 15 years, we have not heard that there have been any such protests and demonstrations. I think it is also related. You spoke about the big picture, Gaurie. I think it is also related to the current fluctuations and the ups and downs in the relations between India and Bangladesh at the moment. Till they stabilize, I think these sort of problems are likely to continue for some time.
Mr. Chowdhury, respond to that, sir, that this is a derivative of how New Delhi and Dhaka's relationship is going through a bit of a up and down phase right now.
Well, there are elements on both sides of the border who always don't speak rationally. When a very senior minister in the Indian cabinet call Bangladeshis as termites, it doesn't go down very well here. I think you must see things more objectively and from a broader piece of angle. So let us not look at individual elements. We have to look beyond that. The first message of goodwill that the interim government head, Professor Yunus, received was from the Indian Prime Minister. The first telephone call Professor Yunus made to any foreign head of government was the Indian Prime Minister. The first foreign envoy in Dhaka to have called on Professor Yunus was the Indian High Commissioner. And so, if the policy-making level, the decision-making level, the engagements are sustained, engagement are continuous. And when the Indian High Commissioner here, who's a very professional diplomat, and I know him well, and when he met Professor Yunus, one of the things Professor Yunus said was, we have been talking, not just this government, but successive governments in Bangladesh have been taken because we are vulnerable to the, unpredictable nature of rivers and waters in our part of the world, especially in the east.
Yes.
So we have been talking since the 80s. I remember when we had very heavy floods in Bangladesh. And President Rashad was the president. I don't know when my Indian friend was Dean Hiker, that we should look at joint management of our waters, of our common rivers. And that has not happened. You see, the floods in India is now the global weather pattern has become so unpredictable, so perverted, that you cannot even not know what will happen next week.
Absolutely. So
if
weather is an issue.
We would know when,
sir. Yes.
When you would manage and restore water in India, release them when it is time. This joint initiative is extremely important, and it's long overdue. We have 54 rivers, and we have agreement only on one.
Right, absolutely, sir. You've raised a very important point. I'm sorry, I'll have to interject you there. But a quick last word, Ambassador Sajjanhar. How do we go about building this trust deficit that is there? India and Bangladesh have a very long history of brotherhood. How do we get over and tide over this present phase?
In my view, Gaurie, I don't think either of the countries has a choice. We are neighbors. We have to live together, and it is better for both of us if we live together well, if we have good relations. And we've had good relations in the past also, and we know that it's a win-win situation. To Mr. Chowdhury, I did not suggest that it is, done anything at the government level. I think both the governments recognize and realize it very well that there is no way out. We have to have good relations with each other. You hear what the
Absolutely.
statements that have been coming from India, the statements that have been coming from Bangladesh. What I
Absolutely.
spoke about was that there are elements who are out there.
Yes,
Who
there are
very
elements on both sides, even though government to government level interaction is in the positive direction. I'm afraid I have to leave it there, gentlemen. Thanks so much for speaking to me on an issue that we're going to come back to. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Global. Thanks for watching.